friends, we are live. Okay, can I just say that the thing that I can't stand most about going live on Facebook is that the filters are just trash. And I found one I liked yesterday and they got rid of it. Just, But yeah, so welcome back to the 5-day Plan Your Podcast Challenge, where for the next 5 days, 3 more left, I am going to be going live and really helping you to understand more about the power of podcasting, how it can help you in your business, how it can help you establish your personal brand and attract the opportunities that you're really looking for, whether it is being able to monetize the message, the transformational framework or teaching that you have been utilizing to get your clients results or your community results, and even attract speaking gigs that are paid. So I'm excited about it. Podcasting has helped me do both of those two things. I've been able to monetize my message through the power of podcasting. I've also been able to attract paid speaking engagements through my podcasting journey. So I'm really excited about being able to break this down for you all. Let's start with this. Let's recap yesterday, and then we're going to jump into today. So there is a 4-part framework that I've been walking you all through. And the first part was connection. And so yesterday we spent our time talking about how important it is for you to truly understand your audience and not just identify them. A lot of times we stop short at identifying our audience, and we know their age, their demographic, we know some of their interests. We kind of do some of the surface level digging, and not even digging, I would just say identifying, but we don't necessarily dig. We don't dig into understanding their motivations, their mindset, where they currently are in their journey, what their roadblocks are. We sometimes understand that those roadblocks don't have to be roadblocks, and we try and push them through them by calling them out. But we don't necessarily have a lot of content where we're sitting in the midst of their struggle with them and saying, I've been there, I get it, I was there, and I want to offer you hope. Offering them hope from a place of understanding, not just of, it's time for your breakthrough, girl. I think the beauty of podcasting is that it's a longer form of content that allows you to really build a true connection and relationship with your audience, which really anchors that trust factor. Because if you've been in business for any number of years, you understand that there are a couple of things that are important when it comes to building trust, especially when we talk about the exchange of money and clients investing and working with you, and that is like, know, and trust. Those 3 things are incredibly essential. And so long form content like podcasting allows you to be able to develop that level of trust. So we talked about connection, and that's really about how do you use your story as the basis for building that trust and really allowing your audience to be able to see you as a human, see you as someone who's been where they currently are, really build that relatability factor, where they feel a connection to you, where when your content pops up, whether it's an email, whether it is, a Facebook Live or, whatever your content source is, whenever they see your name pop up, they're excited because they always get something of value from you, and they always feel like you see them and the messaging is right on time. You all ever have it where you're listening to someone speak and you're like, I was just talking to my friend about that same topic. And so now your ears are perked up and you're all leaning in and listening. You want your community to have that same level of connection to you where they have that same reaction. And it's possible, but you have to do the digging process of building connection. And we'll sprinkle a little bit more about that today, because when we talk about the next part of that framework, which is credibility, those two go hand in hand, because if you have connection without establishing credibility, you end up being friend zoned by your audience. You end up being friend zoned, and you end up being the person where they're always asking you questions, wanting to pick your brain. They want a lot of free access to you, but they're not willing to pay to invest to get access because you haven't established your credibility. You have been friend zoned. So you need the both and. You need the connection and the credibility. And so I want to kind of paint a picture about how those two are internet connected interconnected and related. But I want to frame it in the context of something that I know has been a roadblock for you, because if you're tuning in today, it is because you've been planning to start a podcast all of 2024. You heard about it in 2023. It piqued your interest in 2023, but 2024, you was like, this is the year I'm really going to do it. But you've gotten stuck on one of the biggest things that I see a lot of clients get stuck on and overthinking on, which is the name. And I have some bad news for you. There is no perfect name. Yep. The name actually doesn't really matter. Sorry. Sorry. That, and you have to be okay with putting out the 1.0 version of your podcast, which means you have to be okay with growing, evolving, changing, developing along the way. Because my question to you is, how are you making decisions without data? Yeah. How are you making decisions without data? Because right now you are overthinking a name right now, and you are it's just you spinning your wheels, but you have no data on this. And if you do have data, it is your best friend, your auntie, your mom, your cousin and them. And they're cool, but are they your target audience, right? Are they the people that you're looking to connect with through your podcast? Because if you're just seeking, information from family and friends, sometimes what I find with clients is what they're really looking for is validation. Validation of like, is this thing gonna fail? Like, am I good enough? Sometimes it has a lot more to do with the ego of self, the protection of self, than actually a true desire to move forward. Because once you receive that feedback, what did you do? Exactly. I've been doing this for 4 years, y'all. I know how this works. And so I know the patterns of how we stay stuck, and we're going to break that today. So let's talk about this. And today, my main thing is really want to talk to you about the naming process and help you see that, like, the name isn't what matters. It's how you brand that. It's how you brand your entire podcast and the name. And so I want to start by talking about Target. Yeah, I love Target. If you are a Walmart girly, there may not be a place for you here on this live. Sorry. But no, like Target. I love, love, love Target. But I want you to think about how before Target became a big thing, before it became popular, would you have associated Target with the name of a store? Let alone a place that has groceries? Let alone a place that you can get lost in for hours and hours buying things that you didn't even need? Like, there's no logical connection between the name and what the experience is. It just isn't. That connection for you and your brain exists because Target has done the work to brand themselves. And so a lot of times right now you're getting hung up on the name of your podcast, but it's not the name that's going to make or break it. It is your level of understanding about how to brand the name that you choose, that you're feeling called to, that's been on your heart and mind, brand it well, okay? And so let's talk about this. Let's break this down using the framework that I've been teaching you this week. So again, connection is our first part. So Target has been able to truly understand the desires, the needs, the frustrations and pain points that their audience experiences when it comes to the regular task of going to the grocery store, right? And getting their regular purchases, restocking, re-upping on their products. They understand who is doing this process and what they're feeling throughout that process, right? And so they've been able to make that experience enjoyable and even something that they crave, right? Now people are craving to go to Target. They're craving to go re-up on these different products, and they're not worried about or stressed about it because they're going to Target, right? Because they think about Target, they think about, oh, I'm going to get my Starbucks. And as I peruse around the grocery store and restock on toilet tissue, like, I'm going to be sipping that mocha, whatever. Like, in their mind now, this thing that probably used to cause stress and anxiety and overwhelm, and it's, man, I don't have time for this. Now we are carving out hours of time for Target, okay? And they've done that because they understand, they took the time to do the work to connect to their audience by understanding their frustration points, understanding, their pain points, understanding what they really desired that experience to look like, right? They literally have taken, if we could dream up what the ultimate grocery shopping experience would feel like, and they've bottled that up into Target. But it happened because they were clear on who they wanted to attract, and they were clear on what that person needed in order for that experience to be something not only that they look forward to doing, but they crave to do. Where now we have all these TikToks trending around where people are like, now people are going to with their loved ones to Target to make sure that they're not spending any extra money because they know the trap of Target, okay? Because it has become this big, right? And so I share this because, again, the name Target does not automatically, in my mind, associate with a shopping experience or groceries or toiletries or even Starbucks. Like, those two things, Target did the branding work for now my brain to connect those two things, right? And so when you think about your podcast, you're going to have to take the time to really think about what is the topic that you feel called to talk about? Who is it that needs access to this topic? Who needs to hear this message? And once you identify who needs to hear it, what is it that they automatically associate with this topic, right? So let's just say you're going to have a podcast that is all about financial freedom. You have to take the time to think about, who do I want to target with this podcast? Who do I want to listen? Who needs this message, right? And if you say everyone, no, we're not doing that. We are not doing that. I need you to pick a specific audience because we're going to have to dig. We are going to have to dig. So let's start here. Let's just say you're going to have a financial podcast, right? And so you have to dig into what are the frustrations that your audience has with that. So let's just say your audience are millennials, right? Millennials who are in that season of wanting independence. Maybe they're getting their first apartment and they're trying to figure out all the financial things. And one of the feelings that your audience has is they have overwhelm because they feel like they were thrown into this process of adulting and there are just things left and right that they're expected to know, but that they were not educated on prior to being thrown and thrust into this experience of adulthood, right? So you see how the power of being able to specifically say, this is who I'm targeting, allows you to create an entire story around that with ease. And so then you want to list out some of the things that make them overwhelmed, right? So if you haven't figured out by now, it's a great time to grab your pen and paper because what we do here is we get to work. And if you are serious about doing the work, I want you to use the link below and go ahead and register for my paid workshop because in there you'll actually get all the templates and you'll get all the resources that you need to be able to really put in the work and get it done without having to use your pen and paper and all that stuff and trying to figure out in your notebook and keep track of all the notes. You'll get resources that allow you just to plug in your information and get it done expeditedly because I love templates over here. But anyway, let's get into this. So I want you to think about 3 things that overwhelm your audience, right? If we're talking about the whole financial piece and we're targeting millennials, their first thing is, they're probably overwhelmed by taxes. Yeah. And what's great is we know that we can look at the data once we identify who our audience is, and we can look at the data and say, okay, X percentage of millennials are actually starting their own business. So part of the financial confusion and overwhelm for them is like the taxes with their business. That's a whole episode right there. That's a whole series right there. Okay, so if I'm talking about millennials, they're getting their first apartment right now, or, maybe they have had an apartment in the past and they couldn't keep up with the payments and they got evicted. That's a whole thing right there. And if you could find a guest willing to talk about that, that's an episode right there, right? And so maybe the principle that you're going to end up teaching is how to figure out what you can afford, what your budget for an apartment is, so that way you can avoid getting evicted and, all the things. So again, when you're able to truly hone in on who your audience is, you can make a more strategic connection with them based on your topic and what their struggle is. So I would encourage you to grab your pen and paper. Again, at the top, I want you to put who your target audience is. I want you to put your topic next. And then I want you to put 3 emotions that they feel about this topic. And then I want you to put specific scenarios and stories around that, kind of like what we just did with the idea of eviction and needing a budget around that, and taxes and being an entrepreneur. So you see how easy it is to literally, once you clarify and hone in on who you're talking to and the topic, and the feelings they have about that topic, episodes will roll out like this and that. And again, inside of the actual workshop that I'm inviting you to on December 17th, I will be able to audit your ideas in real time. So if you're one of those people where you have a good idea, but you're like overthinking it and you need expert advice on how to go about it, what's the best approach to make sure your show is engaging, you'll get that inside of this paid workshop on December 17th. And so you can visit planyourpodcastnow.com/register and go ahead and secure your ticket for that. But let's jump on. Because that was connection, right? So that now you see in real time how you implement what we taught you yesterday around connection. But today we're talking all about credibility. Because we know that if we build a connection without establishing credibility, we end up friend zoned, okay? Because you're likely in this space today because you're not only just looking to start a podcast show, but you want to be able to monetize your message. And if you want to monetize your message, you are in the right room, okay? Because marketing and making money off of marketing, my expertise. Okay, so when it comes to credibility, this is really about how you establish yourself as a authority expert in a specific space, topic, specific niche, specific area of conversation. And so this is why, again, it's very important that you identify the why behind you wanting to start your podcast and the topic that you really want to discuss. Okay, so let's dig into credibility. Because if you do not establish credibility, what ends up happening is you may have a lot of listeners on your show who they tune in, they may follow and subscribe, but they're not actually paying you. And so if you have a business, I want you to be incredibly strategic about how you connect the dots between your podcast and your business. So this is what I teach my clients. I teach them to be able to use their podcast as a marketing platform for their business. What is great is that it's your show. And so because it's your show, you get to decide the flow and how it's going to go. And one of those things is you get to decide, honey, I'm going to have ads on my show, but it's going to be all about my business. I mean, now you can have literally free ads, free advertisement because you have your own show to do it on. How incredible. The thing about that is you just want to make sure that it's a seamless transition by making sure that what your podcast is about and who you're targeting aligns with the business and what you're promoting. Which is, again, why it's super important to not skip over the clarity piece of identifying who it is that you're talking to. Because you want to be able to establish your credibility. So let's dig into how that works. So I want you to take some time and think about your business. And I want you to think about how the audience that you've chosen to speak to can uniquely benefit from your business, right? And I want you to also list out what are the things that you can offer them to get them plugged in. So now we're going to take a little detour and talk about marketing, okay? Because I love talking about marketing, and it's really important that we understand that everything has to be connected in a very clear and concise way. So when we talk about marketing, there's something that you probably hear a lot about, which is a freebie. However, if we are offering free things, I am very mindful, okay, that we need to make sure that we offer them in a way that there's movement. One of the biggest mistakes that a lot of entrepreneurs make is that they offer a lot of free things, but they never move people along in the process of from free to paid. And so you want to make sure that all the dots are connected. And so when we talk about your podcast, I want you to like identify based on the topic that you've chosen and who you want to who you want to listen and tune into your podcast, what free resource that's connected to your business could they benefit from? And I want you to think about what paid thing could they go to next. So essentially what I'm talking about in the very simplest terms is a funnel. So a funnel is going from like moving them along in the buying process with ease. Like it's really sitting down and pausing and thinking about when they do this, the next step is this, and the next step is that. One of the things that I see a lot of times is that everything is disjointed for folks. And so they're like, well, I have this podcast, but it's not making me any money. And likely it's not making you money because you haven't connected all of the different things that you're doing into one system, right? And so let me give you an example of what this looks like, because you may have actually been a part of someone's funnel and not even known it. All right, so yes. A couple of weeks ago, my friend sent me this link to a podcast, and this host was actually going to be doing a 3-day challenge all about dreams and like figuring out what it is that you desire in your life. And it was really cool because they used like ChatGPT prompts and like showed you how to use ChatGPT to like really map out like your dream life. It was really cool. And it was great because they had a link in the bio. So I went to listen to the episode. This is the funnel, so pay attention. I went to listen to the episode. And in the episode, she mentions the challenge, right? She explained what it was. And she, in her episode, said, hey, I want you to click the link in the bio to get access to join this challenge. I click the link. I'm taken to a page. This page tells me all about what this challenge is, and it gives me 2 options. It says, hey, you can join this challenge for free right now. Boom. However, if you want access to a workbook that's going to like guide you through this entire process, you can get this for this price. And I'm like, okay, cool. Boom. I'm now in her funnel. Not only did I get access to the challenge, but every single day in the challenge, they gave me follow-up prompts, right? Here's a link to this video. Here's a link to this video. And each of the video connects to, connects to the challenge. And so a lot of times what happens is you may be inviting people to join one thing, and then the drop-off is there until you think of another great idea, and then you invite them into that too. But to be able to have a really effective funnel, you want to be able to like continue moving people along. I want you to sit and think about what an ideal journey would be like for your audience in terms of receiving the best level of help and support they can get. And so maybe there's a free resource that you offer them in the beginning that allows, as they're listening to the podcast, it's related to the topics, related to the episode. They can click that, they join, and then maybe you invite them from there into a paid workshop or paid community where they're able to continue to stay connected. The way that I like to think about it is that they are kind of meeting you in like a loud and large party, right? And they're able to, because they're scrolling on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, they're seeing all these different podcasts, but they're like, man, there's something really interesting here with this specific podcaster. I'm really resonating with this topic. I'm really loving this conversation. And they're wanting to stay in touch. Kind of like when you attend a party and you meet a friend and you're like, hey, I really loved our conversation. Like, can we stay in touch? And then you exchange, I don't know, some of y'all may exchange business cards. Y'all real fancy. Some people may exchange like phone numbers. So let's think about that. Phone numbers, emails, whatever. And that allows you to stay in touch. So when we think about a freebie is almost like going to a party, meeting someone, having a great connection, and then giving them your phone number to stay in touch. Because when they go to that freebie site, that website, they're able to put in their email address, put in their phone number, and boom. Now they're staying in touch because you're sending them emails regularly to kind of stay in touch and communicate. And so on your podcast, I say that all to say, you need to think about what is the highest level of support that I can offer my audience? What is the highest level of transformation that I can offer them on this specific topic? And then I want you to think about what resources are currently in your toolkit that you currently are using, whether that's your freebie, your paid offers, your workshops, And how can you connect the dots to create an entire experience where when they opt into one thing, they're able to be invited to connect with you deeper through your other services and offers? This is how we use our podcast to truly monetize our message, establish our brand, and position us as a credible expert. And why this positions you as a credible expert is because now they're beginning to see that not only does she love talking about this topic, but she knows her stuff to the point where she has an entire ebook built out about this. She has an entire workshop. She has training. She does private coaching on this. Like, you have to be intentional about not even pushing, but positioning yourself as an expert. What I see a lot of times with my clients is there's this hesitancy of really stepping in and saying, I know my stuff. Here's what I have to offer, and let me help you, right? There's this awkwardness around the idea of putting ourselves out there, talking about our services. And if you are struggling with that and you're struggling with really marketing and promoting yourself well, this is a sign that you need to be at this paid workshop that I'm hosting on December 17th, because one thing about me, I'm not going to let you hide. I'm not going to let you shrink. We are going to take action. So now let me kind of pause and give you a little info about this workshop that's coming up. And then we're going to transition out because day 3 is coming up next. All right, so December 17th, I am hosting a workshop where I'm going to help you take your idea for your podcast and turn it into a show. So we are going to it is a 60-minute training of live implementation. So I'm not just sitting and talking to you about a podcast. I'm literally giving you the resources and tools you need to get it done. So there's going to be assignments that you're given throughout this 60 minutes together. You'll have time to go ahead and take care of it. And by the end, you'll be able to say, I checked off this part and this part and this part of planning my podcast. So that way you feel like you got stuff done instead of waiting another 6 months and getting to 2025 and realizing you made no progress on this thing. If you are determined to keep your word to yourself and decide to really get out there and stop hiding, stop shrinking, stop pretending like you're not an expert, and let people know who you are, and if you're serious about using your business as a retirement plan, I've had so many conversations with folks about that this year, but they're like, when I retire, I want to give more time to this. If you're serious about that, you need to set it up for success now, honey. And so podcasting is the way that a lot of people are setting themselves up to where they're able to get more notability around their business, so people are coming to them. And so if you're serious about using your business as a tool to transform and help people, then this workshop is for you, because I'm going to teach you how to position yourself as the authority expert in your industry, how to use your podcast to get the word out there, how to attract listeners that really care about your message, and first and foremost, how to have the courage to put yourself out there and tell your story, tell your journey, and stand in the authority of the fact that I know what I'm doing. This is what I do, and this is what I'm good at. So I'm excited to be able to support you in that. If you are looking forward to joining that workshop, you can visit planyourpodcastnow.com/register to go ahead and secure your spot. But the link is also listed below. All right, until next time, I will see you all on Wednesday, which is my birthday. Okay, so come with the happy birthday wishes for day 3. All right, until next time.